satisfactory, but also mistreating minorities like Hindus, Christians, and Ahmadiyas, etc. Take a look.
The people of these areas are living in a pathetic condition where life itself is a burden and azadi or freedom is a long-standing desire. So-called Azad Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan are the part of erstwhile princely state of Jammu and Kashmir has been illegally held by Pakistan since 1947. For last 70 years, the government has not only neglected these areas in development, it has systematically indulged in politically repressing the people. So that so-called Azad Kashmir, though so-called Azad Kashmir is supposed to be a...
All right, let's go across now to Geeta Mohan, my colleague, joining us again. Geeta, this is yet another slam dunk, really, as far as India is concerned. We spoke about this a couple of weeks earlier. India now hammering in the point that Pakistan is also mistreating religious minorities, at the same time treating terrorists to safe havens.
Well, absolutely. This was again India exercising her right of reply at the UNHRC in Geneva, where Pakistan yet again raised the issue of Kashmir, and a very young Indian diplomat, Nabanita Chakrabarti, responded and represented India in that right to reply, wherein not only did India put forth the question of human rights violations through terrorism that emanates from Pakistan, that destroys an entire generation in the state of Jammu and Kashmir in India, as also in the illegally occupied territories of India by Pakistan, but this time around mentioned the fact that minorities are grievously ill-treated in Pakistan, and very specifically mentioned the Ahmadiyas and the other minorities, be it Hindus or Sikhs, in in Pakistan, which goes to show that human rights violations and human rights issues being discussed at the United Nations is, while all good and each country has a say, Pakistan will have to first realize and work within before raising fingers at other countries, or for that matter, before trying to bring forth the issue of human rights violations without having addressed the problems that exist within Pakistan.
The Indian diplomat also mentioned so-called Azad Kashmir. He mentioned those areas are also under Pakistani occupation illegally, as India says. He, of course, was giving a response to the Pakistani charges there as well. In India at the UNHRC has been recently, Geeta, making it point more eloquently, more forcefully, and this is all part, really, of India's diplomatic offensive to expose Pakistan and their misdeeds.
Well, that's right. The diplomatic offensive continues, given that Pakistan tries to internationalize the issue of Kashmir at every fora, and this is not the first time that India has been experiencing this kind of onslaught from Pakistan, but also countering it in the way India has done, be it at the permanent mission of India and through the permanent mission of India in New York, or for that matter through our mission in Geneva, where the United Nations Human Rights Council's 34th session is underway. India has put forth all the problems that exist within Pakistan, despite the fact that Pakistan continues to rake up the issue of Kashmir, not understanding and countering it by saying that they don't understand the problem that really exists, comes and emanates from Pakistan, and it is not just terrorism that India suffers at the hands of Pakistan, but also the fact that the illegally occupied territory of India, where people are inhabiting, are areas of problem, where Pakistan as a state, as a government machinery, has meted out ill treatment to the people residing in those areas.
More than 80 people were killed, has sent shockwaves across the Sindh, southern province of Pakistan, which is known for the religious and sectarian harmony in Pakistan. Sindh, the land of Sufis, has endured traumatic incidents of terrorism during recent years. Sindh has been victim of Pakistan's warmongering and Islamicist agenda. From day one of the formation of Pakistan, Sindh's indigenous culture and heritage has been invalidated by the Pakistani ruling elites through systematic ways. First, our Hindu population was forcefully exiled. Secondly, systematic radicalization of our young generation through school syllabus and rise of madrasas, which teaches hatred and violence. Sindh today sees a systematic prosecution of Hindus, Christians, Ahmadis, and other sects of Islam. The further economic and political marginalization of Sindhi people, including forced disappearance, extrajudicial killing of Sindhi human rights campaigners, are continue. There are more than 35,000 madrasas in Pakistan, and there are more than 7,000 madrasas in Sindh. Within the context where jihadi madrasas are flourishing, I would like to bring Commission's attention that the currently mainstream schools remain non-functional in Sindh. More than 25% of Sindh's children is still out of school. The remaining 76% are not learning either. It has been reported that more than 1,200 Sindhi human rights activists forced disappeared, and more than 30 activists been reportedly killed in last year. I urge Commission to influence Pakistan to improve the condition of Pakistan.
United School.
Mr. President, almost half of Jammu and Kashmir is occupied by Pakistan, which the country calls Azad Kashmir. Though Azad means free, the residents of so-called Azad Kashmir are anything but. No person in this so-called free Kashmir can assume office or be appointed to a government job unless he takes oath of Jammu and Kashmir's accession to Pakistan. In addition to disregarding international obligations to withdraw its forces from Jammu and Kashmir as per UN resolutions, Pakistan is culpable of human rights violations, including forced disappearances, torture, political repression, and suppression.
Resort Council tiene el uso de la palabra.
Thank you, Mr. President. The recent suicide attack on Sufi shrine of Shehbaz Qalandar, where more than 80 people were killed, has sent shockwaves across the Sindh, southern province of Pakistan, which is known for the religious and sectarian harmony in Pakistan. Sindh, the land of Sufis, has endured traumatic incidents of terrorism during recent years. Sindh has been victim of Pakistan's warmongering and Islamicist agenda. From day one of the formation of Pakistan, Sindh's indigenous culture and heritage has been invalidated by the Pakistani ruling elites through systematic ways. First, our Hindu population was forcefully exiled. Secondly, systematic radicalization of our young generation through school syllabus and rise of madrasas, which teaches hatred and violence. Sindh today sees a systematic prosecution of Hindus, Christians, Ahmadiyas, and other sects of Islam. The further economic and political marginalization of Sindhi people, including forced disappearance, extrajudicial killing of Sindhi human rights campaigners, are continue. There are more than 35,000 madrasas in Pakistan, and there are more than 7,000 madrasas in Sindh. Within the context where jihadi madrasas are flourishing, I would like to bring Commission's attention that the currently mainstream schools remain non-functional in Sindh. More than 25% of Sindh's children is still out of school. The remaining 76% are not learning either. It has been reported that more than 1,200 Sindhi human rights activists forced disappeared, and more than 30 activists been reportedly killed in last year. I urge Commission to influence Pakistan to improve the condition of Pakistan.
United School.
Mr. President.
Well, let's go back to Geeta now, standing by. Geeta, of course, representative after representative, of course, hammering home the point. All right, before we go to Geeta, we go across to Shilkan Sharma, former diplomat, with us on the phone line. Mr. Shilkan Sharma, India's diplomatic offensive, so to say, the UNHRC continues, trying to expose Pakistan and the exploitation, really, or the abuse of human rights within Pakistan, calling it not just the terrorism factory of the world, but also a state that systematically mistreats minorities.
Yes, I think Indian statement is very well put. It is time that Pakistan's this attempt to pull wool over people's eyes, and they are very obstinate about it. They don't seem to realize that the world now knows they are totally exposed before the world. But still, the Pakistani rulers think that they can come to Geneva and New York and talk, give homilies to the world about human rights. It's so bizarre and macabre that those who are killing innocents in their country and who are accomplices in the killing of the innocents through the terrorist factories are preaching human rights to the world.
Do you think this offensive will continue, and is this part of the larger game India has played for the past 1-2 years at least? As far as Pakistani claims are concerned, India systematically now exposing them.
Absolutely. It is time that we expose them, because otherwise, the big powers try and talk to Pakistan as a good boy. So they start beginning to believe that they have arrived. And they continue with the same, Hafiz Saeed is so-called internment, so his brother-in-law becomes the head. It's really, it's making a mockery of what the international community wants.
All right, Mr. Sharma, thank you for joining us. We also have my colleague Saurabh Sanyal joining us with more details. Saurabh, I believe you have the contents of the statement.
Well, that's right, Arthur. In fact, this is the statement that India has given. This is India's response at the UNHRC, and I'll just draw your attention to some pertinent points that have been raised by India in this response, which we have accessed. And here, the response goes on to say that terrorism is the grossest violation of human rights and should be so acknowledged by any impartial and objective observer. Goes on to say that part of the territories of our state remain under the forcible and illegal occupation of Pakistan. It is unfortunate that in recent times, the people of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir have become victims of sectarian conflict, terrorism and extreme economic hardship because of Pakistan's occupation and discriminatory policies. It also goes on to say, Athar, that the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir is part of a pluralistic and secular democracy where an independent judiciary, an active media and a vibrant civil society guarantee freedoms. In contrast, Pakistan-occupied Kashmir is administered by a deep state and has become a hub for global export of terror. So scathing words there coming in for Pakistan. The Indian response also goes on to say that Pakistan's continued support for terror groups operating in Jammu and Kashmir is the main challenge to protecting the human rights of our citizens in the state. Pakistan's selective approach in tackling terror groups operating outside Pakistan and within, despite the numerous solemn promises made, underscores the continuing unwillingness to
thank you for those details and the details in the statement that the UNHRC India rep has spoken out in that speech today. We move on now to other political stories. The penultimate full budget that Chief Minister